Welcome to the Clutch Burners podcast. This is your home for stick shift drag racing, stick shift tech, and more. And tonight we've got the awesome co-host over there, Rich Guido.
And the not as glowing Bill Armstrong tonight on the other one. And we have a special guest. And if you don't know who he is, you're probably listening to the wrong podcast. But we have Joel Steele with us tonight, the first domestic car in the sixes. He was a H pattern record holder for a little while. At like 681. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And he's got an awesome background that hopefully we're going to learn about today. But and I was lucky enough to be at Sick Week with Joel's old car, not racing it, but you probably didn't notice it because it doesn't have a stick in it anymore. But it's Brent Lascelles is your old car, right?
Yes, sir. And he's represented very well. Very well.
It's like somebody built him a good chassis.
He had a very good base with a little bit of testing. I wish I had another year with it, but the cars lined up for me to have a new car. It was a good time to get rid of it. It's going to do very well for him.
That's awesome. So Joel, tell us a little bit about what you do. I mean, are you a fabricator? You got a race shop? Like, what do you do?
All right. So now I was in the Marine Corps. I had a little bit of need for speed before the Marine Corps, and then it grew tenfold when I was in the Marine Corps and got out. And I was just one of those guys that broke a lot of shit and learned the hard way. And I'm continually to do that. I do have a shop. But I am not a fabricator. I have a lot of tools on things like that. I'm more of the person that kind of puts the pieces of the puzzle together, and the driver. But the only thing we do in-house is fuel. So we plumb cars and we wire some. But as far as fabricating everything like that, a guy named Billy, he's the one that has built this car. This originally was Hammer Beham concept. This was a car that he was building, and some stuff that Billy was building it, but it was for him. And it just worked out where I thought about selling my car because it was going to cost so much to put a billet motor in my old car. I didn't want to spend money twice, and I knew that as fast as I want to go in the future, that I was going to run out of cert in that car, and I needed to be a little bit stronger than it was. So it's kind of the reason why I sold it.
It is pretty interesting for people who don't swap different motors into different cars, how much the chassis has to change. So yeah, I was kind of wondering when I saw your car for sale, I'm thinking it's not April 1st. Like, what the heck's going on here? But that makes good sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it was is there times where I see, and I'm happy for Brett. I couldn't have picked a better person to approach me wanting to buy it even before it was for sale. I knew it'd be awesome because everything that he kind of works on and Real Street works on is awesome. But I didn't realize how far he was going to take it and how far his program is going to change the Coyote world. So I couldn't be happier. And there's times that when I see what he's doing, I was like, man, I wish I had another year with that car. But that's water under the bridge, and I'm just glad he's having a good time with it.
How fast has he been with that car now?
652, I think, maybe. And
that was at Sick Week, right?
I think so. He's done some stuff that I think that car's got really good potential to be ungodly fast, even though it's fast now, but I'm looking forward to see what it does at the end of the year.
So for the people not familiar with that car, give us a little background on the car you guys are talking about.
Okay, so my red car is the car that went 681 at 208, and then the next pass went 681 at 210, and the motor was completely hating itself. I mean, the crank was trying to eat itself from the crankcase pressure I had in it. And we finally figured that out after we rebuilt the motor and went to World Cup, went to Mod Nats, and then we figured that out. But that red car, during the time that I raced it that last season, I had a billet motor being built, and it actually was supposed to be in the car during that time, but race car stuff happens. It didn't line up, so we ran a cast block in 2021. Golly, I can't believe it's 2023. So 2021, we did that. We raced cast block. That was a TKM Gen 1 motor, Gen 1 heads. Had a lot of fun with it, and the whole time, everything that was, even what's on this car, the fuel pump, the wiring, the intake, everything was built for a billet motor. I mean, I had a 17.3 gallon a minute pump on that cast block. I never ever used my injectors or in the pipe. Just everything was made for the billet motor. It just wasn't in it at the time. It originally was built by a gentleman named Rob Edwards. He kind of took me from the street car stuff and started introducing me to, this is how race cars are built. And, let's not do that street car shit. And so we ended up going, we originally built it to do the top 8 at NMRA. And then they changed the rules halfway through the build, and that kind of shot us in the foot. So we quickly changed it over to a methanol car. I learned a lot of stuff not to do, and it was a real eye opener on safety. Even though the car was built to run 650s, there was a lot of other things that weren't exactly the way that an experienced racer would want to race it. And I was not an experienced racer, and I learned the hard way and got lucky a bunch, very lucky. This was during COVID, so this was a racing season during COVID, which everything during COVID was so fucked up that nobody really knew what was going on. And I ran a 720 at 210 first time, or 200 first time I ever went at 200 mile an hour. We seen something wrong with timing chain, pulled the motor, fixed it, go back 2 weeks later and do a private test session, and one of my tie rods broke. And it's kind of at the time that we're at now, just kind of, I'm not rushing it, but I want to get this thing done. And I'll go into some of the stuff, the reason why I really want to get it done. It's kind of personal, but it is extremely life-changing. So this might be the last year that I race, if it was up to the doctors. But me being hard-headed, I'm probably not going to stop racing. So I just got to figure out a way to do it safely. But we'll go into that in a minute. Car was awesome. It looked awesome. Had some safety issues I was unaware of. Tie rod broke. Then I was in a situation where I didn't know if I wanted to race and finish that year. Called Billy Webb, and I said, hey, you've met me once. You don't really know me. I need you to come look at this if you have a chance. And he showed up, didn't leave for 2 weeks. He redid the whole back half, front half. Rode down to Florida with me and flew him back, and all he did was two adjustments on the front after he reset the whole car up. And that's when we went really fast and started going progressively fast. When you show increments on laptop of your going up in power, the car just kept dropping numbers. At that time, it kind of made me really eager to go really, really fast. And I said it in an interview with not Real Street.
That Racing Channel?
Yeah, the Racing Channel. First interview I had with the car, I told him I was going fast. And, of course, my crew was sitting there with me like, what the hell are you talking about? So that first time I went 6s, I said I was going to go 5s. And I had this all planned. It just didn't know when the trigger was going to be pulled because there's a lot of working parts. There was a lot of stuff where engine builders weren't exactly, not my current engine builders, but previous engine builders weren't doing what I thought they were doing. And that's why we ran the cast block. And the whole year, I was like, I got to figure out something because I don't want to dump this much money into this same car.
Yeah.
And then I'll run out of chassis on it. So I was kind of hinting around the deal with some people, and I didn't know what a chassis like that was worth. And Brett called me a week before PRI, I think, or 2 weeks before PRI. I said, hey, don't tell anybody, but I think I really want your car. And I was like, I said, no. I was like, no, I don't want to sell it as a roller. I was like, I'll lose my ass on this. And then I said, I can get 100 and whatever with it together and running. And right now it's all fresh. I just had the motor redone. He's like, well, you know that I can't run your setup. And I was like, well, let me think about it. So I thought about it for a couple of days, and I call him back. I said, well, tell me how much you want to get for it, and I'll make my own decision. He told me that's the deal. And I still played the whole social media thing, like pro mod for sale and all that shit that was at PRI. And we did that just because so many people was talking shit. And that's kind of what we do is if you want to play that game, that we can play it a little bit better. But it was sold first time Brett sat in it, was at PRI. And he came and got it. First time ever driving in snow. He drove through a hellacious snowstorm to get it. I wish I had more videos. So the Florida man that goes fast was first time driving in snow was to pick up the car.
That's funny.
And what's his setup in it as far as drivetrain?
He has a Glide with a fast forward race engine. Their tester engine, because they use Brett for a good test bed, which is very smart. They have over 110 sensors, I think, on that. And I've learned a lot from Brett buying my car. There's stuff that I would have never thought about until I already spent over $100 grand trying to figure out how to break it, that Brett's kind of let me in on. And I appreciate that. I mean, that he's done more. He has served his duty way more than a purchaser ever should. And I've learned a lot from him.
So what would be one of those tidbits you've learned?
Put a sensor in to tell you if the timing chain has actually stretched before you take the motor apart.
How would you even sense that? Like off the tensioner?
Yeah, he's got sensors in there. He's I forgot where the sensor's at, but like he can literally tell like if his motor woke up on the wrong side of the bed before it starts. I mean, it's unreal. And it's so he's using Motec. Everybody knows what if you got Motec, what it's there. But he actually there's very few people that use a Motec to its full advantage, and he does. It takes a good group of people to even figure out a Motec, and then it takes a really extreme group of people to figure out how to use everything that it could offer. And they do. Jay and Brett and them, they're really, really smart when it comes to that. And of course, Joe at Fast Forward, they got a good thing going on down there, and it's really interesting.
So safe to say the car sitting behind you is on Motec?
No, I don't have group. No, I would. I mean, I don't say I'm not gonna say that. I'm using Haltech because it is, for my experience and my group of people, that is the best for me. Okay. If I was in Brett's shoes, maybe something else would be better. But I fell in love with Haltech. I couldn't actually do this in my last interview that I had with Yolo Douchebag. I did an interview with him, Alex, and I couldn't talk about this because I was kind of under contract still with Holly. But I went up to I was running plasma man intake. I've always ran a plasma man intake, and the sensors for your
manifold pressure,
throttle body, your throttle body sensor. They're European, so they're not like normal ones. And there's only Haltech and Plasma Man, although they use it. And Nick was sponsored by Haltech, and I was like, hey, I see on their website that they carry this. Can you set up something where I can drive up to Lexington, Kentucky, and pick this up? Don't tell them who I am. I'm just there to purchase something, and I need to come back because we're trying to make a race or something. And Nick, the other Nick from Haltech, of course, didn't let that happen and brought me in and showed me around. And it was kind of like, hey, we don't really have a Coyote car. Really interested. And I was like, don't talk to me until after PRI. No. But he kept showing me around, and I fell in love. I mean, my biggest thing that hurt me a lot with Holly, and this is not bash Holly at all, I live in Bowling Green. My house actually was like 3 or 4 football fields from our warehouse. It was quicker for me to get shit from Summit than it was to be fully sponsored by them. And it just bugged during a racing crunch. It pissed me off. And when at Haltech, it ended up, I fell in love with their place. They got a wire room that's got like over 100 and something different colors. There's not even 100 and something different colors, and somehow they have that on their wall. And I felt really, it felt really warm in there, and that's why we signed up with Haltech. And
was there air conditioner broken or different kind of warm?
No, it was cold. Is that an inside joke?
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. No, it wasn't. There was no Bud Lights in the room or nothing or anything like that.
Got it.
It was all natural, just warming, man.
Some bromance going on.
Yeah, I can't even say that with a straight face.
I think you hit on a couple of key points there. I run Mega Squirt, but it's because I have somebody who can help me with that. So I think, it's pretty key that when people ask me what kind of system I should go with, I'm like, who do you know that's close to you that can help you? What do they run? Just run that, because that typically is because if you're at a race and there isn't a buddy you can call up, you can get yourself in a whole lot of trouble pretty quick if you don't have a good resource. So it's good to hear that Haltech's taking care of you.
Well, one cool thing about Haltech is, okay, so this is horrible to say. I'm a diehard American, served 10 years in the Marine Corps.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yes.
No, thank you. And I'm not one of these people that beat my chest at U.S. only, because usually those people, it's very hard to find everything, even in their own products, that's 100% in the U.S., unless you're literally standing next to a CNC machine that's inside the U.S. and they probably bought the metal from outside the U.S., whatever. But the reason why I'm saying that is I have more Australian parts on this car, I think, than American parts. And I wasn't planned. I didn't start this and be like, you know what, I'm not gonna put American parts on there. But the customer service with Turbo Smart, Speed Flow, Plasma Man, what else is Haltech. And one thing about Haltech is you have 1 hour out of 24 hours that you don't have something when you press that button that says help. You have a live person on the other side of that 23 hours out of a day.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that means more than anything, because nobody knows everything. And there's always somebody that has ran into, well, usually, not in our case, because nobody's doing the stupid shit that we're doing, but usually there's somebody that's ran into that same problem,
So a little bit more about the red car. So what year was that?
That was a 2012 Boss 302, original Boss. Yes, I ruined the VIN number on it. It was a low mile Boss also. It was a Gen 1 everything, and I kept it Gen 1. I mean, it was converted over to the big studs, and I had a filled block, filled heads, but had 1 millimeter overhead. So at the time it was advanced, but hell, everybody's doing that now, or everybody wants to buy a GT500 or a Predator. I actually got an automatic car that's on the lift, and it's got a 5.2 Voodoo with a port and polish heads, 3.0 blower on it. I was working something with Tremec, but they're still waiting on some Ford approval on what they're wanting to do with a Magnum in a newer car. So we decided to put a 400 in it and do some lazy man's racing, I guess you'd say.
Let go of the button.
Yeah.
And what did that car weigh?
The red car?
Yeah.
20 on the scales, anywhere from 20 with me in it, 2780 to 2810, depending on what the scales were. Yeah, I've never put anything I have on the dyno, so I really don't know, but off of fuel flow, it probably, on that 681 pass, it's probably making 2200, 2100. I still had
that tire, 2200 tire. Wow.
Yeah, I still had probably 300 or 400 left if the motor would stay, but we fought the crankcase pressure issue from day one, and it ended up being the orifices in the damn valve covers. And I'm not kidding. What I did at Mod Nats, so we redid the whole motor, or not we, TKM did. Kevin and his team in 3 days did my motor between World Cup. It rode back with the Moors in their beautiful LS Cadillac rig they have, and all the way back North Carolina. They got it Monday morning. Met Kevin and Thursday we have it back in state of Kentucky in our car, leaving for South Georgia at 11 p.m. on Thursday.
Wow,
and,
that's impressive.
Yeah, they busted their ass and got done. But we started seeing we were making passes, and of course I got a sensor for crankcase pressure, and I was like, Kevin, I called Kevin, I was like, hey dude, it's doing it again, like the exact same thing. And before we thought we had a sensor issue. I know it's not a sensor issue. I can hear it in the middle of third, and when I hit fourth, it just grabbing the crank. It just seems like it's just slowing it down. And Kevin's like, can't be, keep running it. And it started blowing oil out like seals that it couldn't blow out. And John Mahovitz was in our pitch the whole weekend. And of course, he's giving us a look like, God dang, these hillbillies! Like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, how? So every pass, we were pulling more lines off. Finally, I pulled all the lines out of the car because I had a puke tank in the back. And I'll actually hold on 2 seconds. I'll grab it. So here's actually the Brakeman brakes. They actually hold up to their warranty. I destroyed when I broke a tie rod, a set of brakes, and they fixed it for free, even though it was my fault or my fabricator's fault. So I don't know if you can see this. This is a Renegade. This is an active. We actually run this in our transmissions and our rear ends, and then put a quart of this in the oil every oil change. But I had some of these jugs, and then UPR, of course, was on site, so they had these the filters, and then I had these are in my puke tank. So instead of it running through, I didn't know if my lines were like cavity. I didn't know if it was going down and up, what the fuck it was doing. Finally, I pulled all lines out of the car, and I put 2 of these jugs in a corner, and I ran this from the valve covers of that. It still did it. Not as bad, but it still did it. So finally, I took the oil fill cap and shoved one of those filters in the oil fill cap, and it went away. And I ran that. I red lit. It was in qualifying, but I was racing the King of the 4-valve class too. I was trying to win that class. That was my main goal for that year. And I was running. Anthony Ballard was taking forever getting on the tree, and I wasn't going to do that to my car in qualifying. So I just took off, thinking it would at least give me a time. And I almost threw the chutes early because I thought it was overboosted. I mean, it pulled as hard as it did in second and fourth, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" Get down there, and the push cart comes around. Like, what the hell is the speed and time on that? And nothing. He red lit. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" But there's a gentleman that did a video, and it ran like a 660 something, high 650s. But that was the first time and the only time that we had a good pass out of our motor setup because of the crankcase pressure issues.
So it was just off the valve cover going to the breather.
Yep.
It was too restrictive.
Yeah, something in there was restrictive. We actually never figured it out. I sold the motor to Stacy Barnett. Isn't it? Yeah, Stacy Barnett, and for power that he was pushing, it was perfect, and he never had any issues with it. Maybe somebody modified it, but he never had any issues with the crankcase like I did. But when you're trying to push 40 plus pounds of boost, you run into stuff that people really don't think about. And I'm glad on this car I got a Daly's billet oil pan, a Daly's pump. I got 20 AM lines going to be coming from my breathers all the way through the car. I'm not going to have any issues with that this year. So
nice. Yeah, 20s. That's like radiator hose size.
It's huge. It's really hard to one. It's expensive, and it's really hard to get specialty fittings. We're actually making some manifolds. So my can I move the camera on this?
Sure. Yeah.
It's
like show and tell. Go for it.
Yeah.
So so that is the Clearview's new tank. So it's got a Clearview on top of it, and then it's got my dry sump tank on bottom. Nice. So we're gonna take, here's the breather lines for it, and then I gotta make a manifold that goes in between the 20 AM lines right there, and then goes to my car.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I run one of those Clearview on my car, and it definitely saved me on one event. I saw some really weird chunks in there, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to run it till I figure out where they're coming from. But those Clearview filters they can be a game changer for, well, probably saving your ass.
Well, he's super smart. Gentleman that owns that company. If you ever have any questions, like he's little shit. Like I would not know this. I never ran a dry sump, so I don't know anything about it. What I've learned is from asking questions, and this is one of the first dailies that's ever been on a Coyote anyway. So I have a lot of questions. Brett's helped me out a lot because he runs one on his car. So he's helped me out a lot too. But I did not know that your oil filter, so I have a Peterson, the prime and pump oil filters, that filter line has to be above your fill line on your tank. Because when you turn it off, if not, it'll gravity feed and all the oil will go back down in the pan until you get to whatever level that filter's on. And then when you go to start it, it won't have any oil to suck from the tank to the motor, and then that's when you start hurting your engines. I had no idea. I mean, little stuff like that, he helped me out a lot on it.
Interesting.
And I had I would have messed something up and learned something the hard way if he didn't tell me that.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Well, Bill might remember this. I was on Rocky Mountain Race Week, and guy says to me, he's like, you own that black GTO over there? And I can't remember. It's probably a Bill's car or something. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I just heard something fall on your car, like something popped or something. And I'm like, typical racetrack stuff. You're like, what have you been smoking, man? Like, but it actually, he had a problem with some of the studs. The manufacturer of some of the studs, he got a batch of weak ones or something, and just the heat and the aluminum heating up, it actually popped one of the studs off. So I had to take it all off and drill it and put a bolt through it in order to fix it. But when I called him up, he's like, send the thing back. He's like, yes, we did get a bad batch. And yeah, he was fantastic to deal with, the Clearview guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was a good dude.
You're lucky the guy was standing there and heard it.
Yeah, well, it was funny. I'm like, whereabouts did you hear it? And then pretty soon I noticed that, one of the nuts is missing there.
Wow. Yeah,
we're gonna drag you back a little more. Actually, I was gonna ask you, when did you really get into stick shift racing?
It was an accident, I guess you'd say, that was meant to happen. I mean, the car, I've had 3 0304 Cobras. That's what originally got me like in it. I mean, a T56 base car off of a GM T56. Everybody was at that time Vipers, Corvettes.
Yeah, the TR6060. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. This was T50. Those are T56 base because that was when your SS Camaros, your Viper spec, which was in the Vipers, and then you had the Corvette, I think, and then you had the 0304 Cobras. All had the standard size T56 in it. Yep. So I had 3 of those cars. One was a turbo, the other one was a nitrous with a Kenny Bell 2.2 on it. The other one was stock. And that's what just really got me into the stick shift racing. My dad taught me how to stick shift drive in a Zuzu rodeo in the high school. So that's what kind of introduced me to stick shift. But then I kind of got out of cars. I had a 2010 Shelby, and then I sold it. Kind of got out of cars. It was during the kind of a transition when I was in the Marine Corps from the normal Marine Corps into my next job that I had in the Marine Corps, and kind of got out of cars. And then I was in the school for my new job, and a guy was just bugging me about my truck, and I just bought this damn truck. It was crazy. I bought a brand new diesel Duramax for $47,000, which is crazy because that thing would be $85,000 now. But yeah, $47,000. Yeah. And I seen Justin Starkey's car for sale, and I said, "Man, that's got perfect." I mean, I've had a couple of his blowers. It's his car. It's what kind of made the name, I think. I mean, he tested a lot of blowers on that car besides Rebecca's car. And so I told that dude, he's like, "Hey, write me a check for that truck, and I'm gonna go down and get Justin's car." And I bought a T56 Magnum with it because I knew the MTA2 sucked for drag racing. I switched it out the next week, and I was just learning. I honestly didn't know. Now looking back, I didn't know shit. I was just wanting to go fast and just figure out how to do it, and then speed it up a little bit. Me and Ben Stoner went back and forth. We were both trying to be the first one in the eights. He beat me to it, and those are awesome guys, Ben and Jeremy. And then I met Jonathan Atkins at a LS Fest. Okay, so let me kind of talk shit on Ford guys. So we live in Bowling Green.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Bowling Green has some of the best events. There's just a good atmosphere for drag racing and going fast. And my Rottweiler just sounded like a cow. But LS Fest is the best event in Bowling Green. It is huge. It is the best overall. You want to go. Now, I'm not going to say it's an all-out drag racing event by no means, but it just in town, at the track, the parties that go on out. Like we had a LS Fest party here last year, and I guarantee it there was 2,000 people at our shop. I mean, it was huge.
Nice.
And I met a lot of people at the LS events that helped me out with my car. And Ray Bullocks is actually the one that kind of introduced me to some of them people back when he was racing that blue Camaro that was at the time the top of the tier, fastest car out there, learning the hard way, non-slipper clutch, just going down the track kind of deal. And I met Jonathan Atkins and went out to eat with him and his guys at Smoky Bones here. And Jonathan is I love him to death, but first time meeting him is kind of didn't know how to take him, kind of dry, kind of seemed like he was looking at me like this guy's full of shit. And that is when I got introduced to him is when he kind of took me under his wing and showed me not everything he knows, but everything that I need to know that he knew. And he helped me out from driving halfway across the United States to meet me on a track to let me in on the secrets to go fast, because at the end of the day, we get 10 guys in there that's done some pretty cool shit in a stick shift with the same 10 cars. Somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to break. Somebody's going to be pissed off. But the majority of them will help each other out. And I can't thank Jonathan enough. And congratulations to him for selling Tick. And now he gets to be a semi-retired LT and LS engine builder.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he gets automatic too. So I got to talk shit on him about that.
Oh, we definitely have to talk. Yes. Yeah.
Well, he's got to, in addition to switching to a Turbo 400, he needs to go purse shopping.
Oh! With the king. Now, I don't blame him at all. We have worked the last 3 years to make different stick shift racing events, to make it worth double spending on parts and all this work and all these secrets that are not secrets, are just people don't really know, to make it worth actually racing these stick shift races. We're actually gonna, and I don't know when it's gonna happen. I already thought it would have happened by now. I'm gonna put on an event under Stick Shift the World at Bowling Green, and it's gonna have anything from gassers to us. So
nice.
pro stock, or not pro stock, Coyote. What's that? Coyote stock? Is that what it's called?
Yep.
So anywhere, Coyote stock, gassers, Outlaw H pattern, all the Ricer front wheel drive. I mean, we want to have anything in the middle. I mean, from start to finish. Who started stick shift racing to now what's cool, and we want to put on an event here in Bowling Green. That is why we actually started Stick Shift the World, is we were going to do. That's where we were going, is going to an event. But life happens, and we haven't got there yet. And then we started working with Donald Long, trying to make a outlaw stick shift race there. And we had one. I wasn't able to go. It was kind of butthurt about that, but I had a lot of medical things going on that I didn't know if I was going to race at all. I mean, this car took the back burner where I didn't even know if I was going to finish it. So New Year's, I thought I had a heart attack. I actually think I did have a heart attack. And I didn't go to the hospital. It happened in the morning on the first. I didn't go to the hospital, and then like 5 hours later, I just didn't feel good at all. So I went to the hospital, and they said, we can't tell what happened, but something definitely happened. So they started sending me through all this heart testing, and come to find out that I was born with a bileaflet aorta valve, not a trileaflet. And I told her, I said, there's no way. I was like, there's all the stuff that I've done in my past, it would have showed up, especially going to special operations. They test your heart, like they look at all that. And I had that in 2013, and they looked at me and said, "Well, you'd be the first human born without it," and it happening after you're born. I was like, "Well, then I guess there's no possibility." So they sent me through all these tests, and it was actually at the race. This is the reason why I couldn't go to Lights Out, is because these testing was going on, and they came back and said that's when the doctor started telling me a little bit about it and what's going to end up happening. And they said we had to do one more test, and that actually was that Thursday that Lights Out was. And they went in through my lungs, and they take pictures of the back or through my trach. They take pictures of the back of your heart, and they came out and said that it is what it is, or what we thought it was, and you're going to have open heart surgery within 6 to 8 months. And you're going to have to get your aorta valve replaced. So the whole time I'm trying to deny it. I mean, I'm 35 years old. I'm not in the best shape. I haven't been to the gym since 2015 or 14, but I'm not I don't take care of my body, but I'm not like 75 or 80 like all these other people in this heart doctor's waiting room is. And so I was in denial. I'm still in denial about it, to be honest with you. But I have to make a decision what type of heart valve I want to get. So I can either get a pig valve and have another open heart surgery in 10 to 15 years and don't take any blood thinners and don't have to worry about if I wreck the car dying because of the impact. Or I can do a mechanical valve, take blood thinners, and the doctor says you might want to find a driver for your car. And so me personally, I'm having a hard time accepting that, and I don't know what I'm going to do. More than likely, I'm going to do the pig valve and then do the mechanical at 50. I wish it wasn't my aorta valve. That's the reason why this car is called the Widowmaker, is that's actually the Widowmaker surgery, is the open heart surgery that they do. And I'm in crunch mode because I want to bring this car out, race it until that surgery date, and then figure out what I'm going to do after, kind of deal. So that's kind of the reason why it's been sped up since I actually figured out what was going on. Now I'm just trying to fight the clock until I have the surgery. So there's a little bit of, I guess you'd say, a personal meaning behind it. This isn't just go out and have fun and see if I can break a record. Now I don't know what my future kind of holds. And I got 4 kids, and there is a lot of other stuff that I need to be thinking about. But at the end of the day, Kevin Mullins said it best. I mean, he had this surgery at 21 years old. And he said, well, I raced and did everything I'm on blood thinners and everything. So you can't live under a rock your whole life. And that's kind of the motto that I've lived pretty much my whole life, kind of deal with the different stuff that I've done. But still kind of fighting a little bit when a heart doctor says I need to find a driver for the race car. So I'm just, I don't know. I don't know what to do, you know?
Yeah.
So you have 4 kids, 4 boys, girls, mix? What do you got?
3 boys and a girl.
How old are they?
I got a boy just turned 5 on the 24th, a boy at 6, a boy that's 9, and a girl that's 11. My girl's actually in Orlando at World's cheerleading competition right now.
Nice.
I'm back tomorrow. Yeah, she's a cheerleader, and she does very competitive cheer, and it's very busy, very, very busy. But
I get a kick out of your videos where you're taking your kids to school. They're always entertaining, hey?
Oh, yeah, you never know what's going to come out of their mouth. It's
it's the best.
I only go Facebook Live when they let me. There's some shit they say, I'm like, we gotta go live for that.
And I
But
and I and I know Rich will agree with me on this, but man, you're in like the magic time. It's just it goes like what do they say? The days are long, but the years are short. It is so true. I've got my youngest one is graduating high school
dang,
in like 2 weeks, and my oldest one is second year of college, starting third year. And man, if I could go back and have a day when they were like 3 and 5, yeah, I
Yeah.
would in a second. It was amazing.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they keep it entertaining. They are the most supportive children that you can ask for, if that makes any sense. I mean,
Yep.
they want to do what dad's doing. I played baseball growing up, played college baseball. They all three love baseball. I've never pushed it on them. They just like baseball because my parents never pushed me to play sports at all. I just love baseball, and they've picked it up. Um, and then working on cars, talking shit at the track. I mean, I got my 6 year old. I'll never, and of course, there's always the LS Coyote rival, and my license plate on my red car, which hangs over our door. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there's a license plate on that door over there that it says LS Killer. Real men get blown. Bottles are for baby. Real men get blown. That was my license plate on my legal license plate on my car. And we're at a race in St. Louis, and John Miller, he races. He had a S197 car, and we're drawing chips. And during testing, it was hot as hell. We were having oil pressure issues. It's one of my first motors, and the car would launch real hard. And as soon as it gets up to like 2 Gs, then the oil pressure fall, and the safety cut would hit, and it just die. And ran John Miller one of those times, and we're drawing chips. And my now 6 year old, he was probably 3 or 4, or four, probably 4. He's standing next to me drawing chips, and John's being nice because he's got kids. Hey, what are you doing? He goes, uh, "My dad beat you." That was the first thing he said. He's like, "No." He goes, "Well, I don't like you." I was like, "Connor, what are you doing? Like, stop." Well, I don't like you. But they're awesome kids. I can't couldn't imagine not having kids. I really couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And especially for the moms, it's the toughest job that you get. Like Rodney Dangerfield, they get no respect. but
Yeah,
it's a
they
yeah.
I couldn't imagine being the mom of our 3 boys. I mean, Connor doesn't even he doesn't even think that that's actually his mom. He doesn't care at all. I mean, he's all dad boy. I mean, he's whatever mom says, and it's horrible, but whatever mom says doesn't count. Like, I mean, he's whatever dad says kind of deal. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about this car behind you. We talked a little bit about the about the old one. We better move back to this. So we already heard you say 5s. So what? Tell us about the chassis. So what is this car going to weigh?
Shit. I don't know if I can keep some damn billet off the front of this car. It'd be a lot lighter. I hope, and always hope, and it never fucking comes true. But it'd be awesome to weigh like 2,600 pounds with me in it. That'd be awesome. It should, but I won't know until I get it done. Actually, I don't even want to put it on scale. I got some of those Proform scales, and I think they're the worst thing ever invented. I don't know who the person, and I hope he's watching this, made this. I've had like 3 sets of them, and they're off by a lot. Like, not even a little bit. They're all consistently 300 pounds off. So I never really
heavy or light.
Light.
Always
Rich, you need to get some of those. You need to get some of those skills, Rich.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because I think I have borrowed a buddy's, and I thought my car would be like 39, and it's like 41. So I hear you.
Yeah. But so I never weigh cars like in this process, which I could, and just throw a bunch of shit in there that I'm going to have in there. But hopefully it weighs around 2,600 pounds. the biggest difference about this car is I built it to not make sure it's not an inconvenience to work on it. And when I say that, like, there isn't anybody with an 8 5/8 can on a Coyote. And that is a huge deal and a lot of fucking money to make that happen. And actually, I'll go get an input.
With a what did he just say?
I think he's talking about the bell housing.
Bell housing, the can. Okay, that's what I thought.
So we're in the process of making and finishing everything that's going to go in the can. So this is the part that links to the actual pedal. But, or I guess that would be, oh, that's a cross shaft. But
yeah.
So PPG, they make my my inputs, all my gear set and everything I have in these transmissions.
Yep.
This is, oh shit, hold on.
Oh, because the can's so deep, his input shaft has to be bigger. That's what he's going to show us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the stuff that scares me about this car, because I know that I'm the first one that's doing it. And I'm the test bed. I'm the one that's going to spend the money. I'm the one to be pissed off. This is a normal PPG. I think they're 300 M's. They got to be, because they put up, I haven't messed one of these up yet, and I've destroyed every other brand between OEM and then this is the new PPG, 2 inches longer, an inch longer splines, because I'm running a triple disc now. It's this stuff that is going to make a big difference at races. And one of the biggest problems I have with the style of racing that we're doing, and this is, Jonathan actually hit on this when he made his post about going automatic. I never once went to the line and knew what my pedal was going to do. You always had that you couldn't zero shit out during a race. And you know what? By the end of the night, everybody's too fucking lazy and tired anyways, because they spent the whole weekend prior working on their shit, or week, and drove all night. Nobody's going to take their transmission out, re-zero it every night. And I wanted to build a car to where if I want to slide that transmission back or stick my hand in there and re-zero it when a transmission is there, I can. And that's a very expensive decision, but I learned a lot with my red car, and I don't like losing, and I lost a lot because I couldn't do the maintenance I needed to do between rounds and do the things that, hell, I was at World Cup in my red car, and there was this little bitty car right next to us, and he was I wish I could remember his name. His wife was doing all the clutch tuning in it. But he had a slider in there. I was just watching him. I was like, oh my God, that's so much easier than what we're doing. Like, what the hell are we doing wrong? And I have no idea the class he was racing, but it was amazing. So
for everyone, including myself, what do you mean zeroing the clutch out, as far as just reshimming because the clearance has changed on the discs?
Yes. Okay. So my ring height is 0.9. 0.96 on my clutch, I think. And however you run your clutch, everybody does it different. There's people that have heavy base or heavy weight on the fingers. This is however that person makes their car work with their engine power and engine tuning.
Yep.
Once that you make that pass, and this is what I was talking about, I did not know where my pedal was every time. I was guessing. I never worked on my light game. I didn't have a fucking brake in my car. I literally rolled up in the second beam, pushed the clutch in, floored it. There was nothing holding that car. So there was no way that I was good at cutting the light, but I was lucky. I didn't have anything holding the car back. Thank God it didn't move.
You didn't have a line lock?
Fuck no. I mean, I had one, but I didn't use it. I mean, it wasn't in those cars. There was a lot that you had to do because of the hydraulic and it being a newer car. And we fought it in Bobby's car. Actually, stripper glitters over there in the corner. And Jonathan started using this where a two-step automatically was on when they were staging it.
Mm-hmm.
But Bobby's car the crank was moving so much that all of our clearances that we had for the bearing distance and everything that we're using, it was going out the window. That's why that car, it still went fast last year, but we looked like idiots on the line a lot because we couldn't leave. We had to let the other car leave and then hit the two-step and leave because we'd roll through the beams. We didn't know the crank was moving almost an inch majority of the year. But sorry, back to the zeroing. The zeroing makes – I felt the most comfortable every time knowing that my clutch was zeroed. So after you take a transmission out, put it back, yeah, it sucked. But you know for a fact, because you stuck your head in there in that little bitty space, and you're the one that counted it. You've seen it on the dial. You know exactly that your base is this. You have this much weight on your fingers, and that your clutch is zero. Let's go racing. And then after that, it fucking all went out the window. Just keep adding more weight to it, and then hopefully it stayed together and you didn't burn through it one of the times, or the track condition didn't change drastically. Next thing you know, you either hit the tires or you smoke the clutch and you're sitting in the pits like, God dang, I'm an idiot for doing this. I mean, that's
whose clutch you running
right now. I have Rob Youngblood's triple titanium billet clutch. It's
like 8-inch discs.
Yes, triple A.
Okay. Yep, got it.
Benefani disc, and it's nice. I mean, it's beautiful. It's got a lot of different color metal in it. If that makes any sense. The billet, yeah, real expensive. The billet, the billet aluminum is a different aluminum than we ran. We got the one that I ran in my red car was a dual 8. The aluminum was made out of something different. This is a 76, I think. Is that the?
Yep, 70. Is it yellow?
No, it literally looks just like it. I mean, so much I called Rob and was like, oh, where did my $7,000 go more than my other clutch? I'm not kidding. I really did call him.
It went to his boat payment. What are you talking about?
I was like, God dang. I was like, what did I spend all that money on? He said, and he explained, he was like, look, the aluminum is completely different. You got titanium pressure ring in there. There's all kinds of titanium parts in there. I was like, I get it, but I had to call and ask because it looks like you just added your stand height a little higher and put another disc in there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I know there's a difference, and he wouldn't do that, but I did call him and ask him that. But
so Joel, this will be your first mechanical linkage setup then?
Yes.
Oh yeah. So I have a 65 GTO.
Yep.
It's over this shoulder. Yeah. So I still have all the factory linkage in it.
Okay.
So I don't, at least I don't have to deal with the hydraulics, but that I can only imagine, especially on something performing like yours, and especially how much material you probably take off in a pass, like, or don't, right?
Don't.
If it looks up too early.
Yeah, man, there was times that we ran my car and we used the fucking bearing as a slipper. I mean, that's how much that the learning curve into making the hydraulics work in our setups took. Granted, the bell housing was the same as Jonathan's, I believe. A lot of the stuff was the same, but it just different cars with the motor and how the power, it just didn't work the way that a lot of other cars did. And I mean, it took a lot to figure out that, hey, our bearing's too close to the fingers. Let's back it up all the way. I hope it doesn't blow it out. I mean, there was just countless. And then on Bobby's car, I felt like an idiot the whole year. I was the one setting the distance up. And then we finally got to a race like, Jonathan, I'm putting this car up, and Chris Moore, and then let us use our lift. I said, I want you to look at this because I feel like I'm just totally blowing this out of my ass. And he looked at it and he's like, no, it's right. I said, well, I don't know what else to do. It's not working. And we're going up to the line, hold the clutch in, it rolls to the beams. And, but yeah, I hope I don't run into, well, there just isn't an answer for that problems this year. I know I'm going to run into, like, I hope this 2-inch longer input shaft takes 3,000 horsepower. It shouldn't. Nobody thinks it's going to except for PPG. I have confidence it's going to because we took apart 2 transmissions at Jonathan's or Tick Performance. Can't say Jonathan's anymore. And they were good. I mean, we ran those things for 3 years. And in my red car and in Bobby's. And we made a lot of mistakes in Bobby's where if it would have been another gear set. It would have destroyed them. I mean, I hate to say this on here. Bobby did a reverse burnout. And sorry, Bobby, I had to. I'm just trying to prove how
Not
tough.
The first one I've heard of, as a matter
No,
of fact.
that's the last podcast. The guy did too. So.
I'm not talking like you do, like a little bit of squeal on the top. I was the lineup guy, and it was a rolling burn, or it was rolling smoke. And when I did this, the car didn't move. I was like, well, that's weird. And all our other guys, Jeremy and whoever else was back there, didn't say anything. But I noticed that he was fighting it, trying to get it back into gear to just roll up to the light. Makes the pass was shit. I'm walking back to the side by side, and Jeremy's got this weird look on his face. I was like, "What?" He's like, "Bobby just did a reverse burnout." I was like, "Oh my god, that was a good burnout. Like that was actually
all the rubbers on the front part of the car.
Oh yeah, and I was like, that trans has got to be smoked, or the clutch. It's like, there's no way that it didn't hurt trans at all. I mean,
wow.
It was using the fresh side of the gears.
Yeah, I guess. I was sorry, Bobby, for putting that on here. I had this just the PPG, the metal that they use is amazing. I mean, I went 3 races one time, forgot to turn my oil pump on for the transmission.
The sprayer,
didn't do shit to it. I mean, I have to say, yes, they are a lot more expensive. The gear sets, the PPG gear sets, are almost double, triple of what your normal shit is.
Yeah.
But they always have in stock, so they ship it even though it goes across the pond. They always have in stock, and the metal is amazing. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it right.
I should look into one of those input shafts.
Yeah.
Well, you can't use these on normal because those are quills. The other ones, your input's 4th gear on majority 256 stuff.
Yep.
But these are quills, so they actually go into the trans and then they go inside of 4th gear.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
I don't know if they make a normal gear set like that for a T56, or if they're all quills like you were describing.
They gotta have, they do, because they make Viper transmissions.
I thought they did, yeah.
And then they have that badass billet sequential trans, which I know that we're going to find the max of a T56 case on this car. I don't have a tunnel on this car. I mean, the transmission is gonna be showing. I am going to Nick Coleman. He uses a glide diaper for his trans.
Right.
So I'm going to get one of those because I know for a fact that I'm going to find the max of a lot of things, and I just hope I did enough pre-planning and waited long enough during this build process that I don't feel the pain as much as I think I'm going to.
That is interesting with all the aftermarket parts they make, gear sets and front covers and everything for a T56 Magnum. They don't make it, not that I'm aware of. There isn't an aftermarket case, like a billet case yet.
PPG's making one, aren't they?
No, they only have the one for the sequential.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So, sorry, my watch is doing something crazy. Which we have figured out a way that if we wanted to, we can make that work. But there's going to be stuff that's going to have to come out in the near future. We've had some conversations with some people that we're going to have to. I believe Jonathan's actually found some weaknesses. I don't know if it's the clutch or the trans and different things. I know that I'm going to. I just don't know which one it is. We just have speculations what it is. My sliders. So my sliders on my trans are actually going to have a dual purpose and be an exoskeleton for the trans too. So this is going to be, how's this hook on there? Oh yeah, so I got them backwards. Maybe not.
Oh, so that's so you can slide your transmission back.
Yeah, so we can slide it back, but it'll also hold both sides of the trans together too.
Yeah, so without really dropping it, you can slide it back, access the clutch, change the clutch.
Yeah, this trans has to come. This trans has to come out the passenger door. So my floor on the passenger is all carbon, and you can Zeus it out and then step in it. And then if you want your clutch maintenance or do whatever, or take it out, you can take it out that way. All my computer stuff is right there on the firewall to the passenger side of the can, and with Haltex, you don't need that much. I mean, it's got the solid state relays built in. I mean, it's all in one system, and I can't wait. I mean, my wiring harness is going to consist of like 2 feet, and the rest of it's just going to be like one wire going to my lights in the front, one wire going in the back. I mean, that's pretty much it. They're actually going to wire the car in-house.
Nice. So talk to us about what the plan is. Like, how big is this motor? Like, what RPM we be launching at, shifting at, all that kind of stuff. Do you have an idea?
Yeah. So I launched a red car. Okay, so I'll go to the motor. The motor is stock bore, stock deck height. It's an AccuFab block. TKM built it. I wanted to run this motor to 11,000 RPMs. So Brett Barber at AFS is hopefully, he said with all confidence that that's going to be no issue. I would like to shift in the 10,000 area, and I would like to launch this car between 6,000 and 7,000 RPMs. I launched my last car at 5,400, and it wanted a lot more. Just didn't have time to make the baby steps on the clutch. And the only reason why I knew that it wanted more is if I made a mistake. So the way that we did our launching is we have a target. We have a over rev. So to spool it, we'd run it to 62 or to 64. And when it hit its target boost, it'd go down to 54, 50, or 55. And that's when we knew it was good. When it made that third pop, I knew that it was good. So the one that, if you watch any of my videos, when you see that, I don't know who he is, but the overweight Mexican dude that jumps in every fucking video that we have in my car, when it makes that pop, that's when you knew that it was at target boost. But there had been some times where I make mistakes staging it and never got to that point. When it left at 62 and 63, it was a rocket coming out of the hole. Even though I didn't have the boost, I had the RPM that was basically either locking up the clutch or the power was in quicker because the turbo was hotter.
Yeah.
Turbos at the time. So I would like to launch it in the 6,000 range, maybe low 6,000s. This is one thing that I made the decision to go to a single. It was for a reason that I'm not going to say on here. And I but I could now go back to twins because of certain things that are on the car. I could have put the twins back by the firewall like I originally planned. But I got a single to fit some things that I could modify to fit in some classes or whatever. But to be honest with you, I really don't care about the classes. I mean,
you got a goal.
I just want to go fast. I really do. And if it's not in a stick shift class, I'll run this car in Pro 275. It'll fit all their rules, which they don't really have many. And that class fits my goals. So I want to be 370s, 380s in the eighth, and I want to be fives, whatever, in the quarter. I don't really want to run quarter, but I know that I got to do that because this class hasn't got to the 8th mile status yet. If that makes any sense. There's guys out there like me and Jonathan and Nick and John Rogers and Demon, Devin Schultz. I mean, they would do 8th mile racing, but in the back of their mind are like, we kind of, all we know is quarter mile kind of stuff. But this last year, being a crew chief for Bobby, Robert Miller, we call him Bobby, Ricky Bobby, and the stripper glitter, actually, I think it scared me more than it helped me grow as a drag racer. I mean, when Farlow flipped his car right in front of us at World Cup, I was already second guessing going that fast. And there's cars there running fives and low sixes. And I was on right at the quarter mile mark or right before it, watching these cars go by. And I was like, I'm a fucking idiot. Like, why? I mean, literally those cars, and they're big tire cars. Majority of them are big tire cars. But this much of the center of that big tire and the front tires are skimming. They're not even rolling. when they're going through the traps, and at 240, 250, 260. And I'm just sitting there looking at these cars going by, and it's like, what the fuck am I thinking? Like, that's so stupid. But
they're basically airplanes with no wings.
They are. You are efficient. You are trying to be the smartest. You're trying to defy an airplane and defy a car. Just you are trying to do right in the middle and figuring out a way to not take flight, but not lose track. Like,
yeah, because the shape of the car is creating lift across. It's a wing because it's flat on the bottom and curved on the top.
Well, that's one thing about this car. It's going to be carbon fiber from the nose. The only thing that's not carbon fiber on the bottom is going to be where the driver's part is. But the rest of it, I mean, it's going to be completely sealed from where my front hooks in all the way to the back. And it's going to be a separating small tire car. And that's one thing that I do have in the back of my mind is one day I'm going to have a power wheelie. I just hope I figure out a way to control it. I have sensors on here, but at that point, you can't catch it. I mean, once it catches flight, it's not the motor that's making it go up in the air. It's the aerodynamics.
Yeah.
So that is a thing that I have in the back of my mind, and just hope it never happens kind of deal. And
you almost need some pneumatic spoilers on the roof to be deployed.
Yeah.
If it hits a certain angle.
Well, see, that's one thing that me being hard-headed, and I'm not going to quit drag racing. Whenever they said that, the heart doctor said I had to get a driver, I called Nick, or I text Nick. I was like, Nick, I need you to call me. And Nick's one of the smartest people when it comes to computers, and he works at Haltech. And I said, hey, I need to figure out a way to make this car stop or not hit the wall as hard if I pass out. And he kind of paused. I was like, I'm not joking. Like, I had a doctor who just told me that I shouldn't be drag racing anymore, and then it's going to get worse. So they have a 6-axis G meter. And what we're going to do is I don't want to have anything to do with CO2. I don't want anything to leak. Like, I ran into a lot of problems with the red car on that. And I didn't want CO2. I was going to put the big Pro Mod springs in there, and the chute didn't have to worry about air or anything like that. But whenever the doctor told me that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put CO2 back on this car, and we're going to utilize the G meter to where if it decelerates too fast in the middle of wide open throttle or whatever, then the chutes come out. The 6-axis has a yaw. So like when you're shooting, if you ever distance shoot or long gun shoot, there's the yaw. It's the same thing as what a bullet does. If you can set it up, and when your yaw effect and the G meter gets too much, that means that the car's probably not straight or on its tires. Yeah. Then it'll deploy the chutes out, and you won't hit the wall as hard also.
So yaw would be where the tail end is kicking around, right?
Yaw could be anything. When you shoot a long gun, the bullet is the yaw effect, bucking and yawing. It's doing this. So the yawing is kind of, I can't believe I did this in the second interview. I almost did this. It's when it's almost like that when it's going in a circle. So it's basically, I don't know how to explain it when it comes to cars, but in a bullet, it's the same thing when it's how it's going through the air. But
yeah, and I think of it as aircraft because they have pitch, roll, and yaw.
Yep. Yeah. But hopefully I never have to utilize that. But life happens, and
it would be a good thing to have anyways. If you're going to go that fast, it's a good thing to have anyways.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean, all I want to do is run 8th mile, but I know that I'm going to run quarter mile sometimes.
And what's this shifting strategy do you use? Like
torque cut. So Jonathan,
same as Jonathan does.
Yeah, it's the same. I did. He did that in my red car, which at the time was I have 27 feet of timing chains. It was a very uneasy conversation. So we did it. We did it a couple different ways. We did it where we only cut 3 holes out of the motor, and then we did it where we did a complete cut to get in gears. Yep. And everybody's setup is different. The reason why I'm saying this is when we ran the Liberty trans, all I had to do was just put pressure. I could put 300 pounds on that thing and it would not come out of gear because it had 9 dogs on it.
Yep.
And they're tapered. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So, and PPGs, I have 6. So I can tap that and it comes out. It won't go to the next one, but it'll come out. So that's going on the guessing game. I had to be, there was a lot of user error there on shifting. I could put my hand on it, but I couldn't put any pressure on it because it'd come out. Or when your adrenaline's going and all of a sudden a tire spins a little bit or you do something wrong, next thing you know, I'm bouncing off the next gear and then I don't make the shift because I didn't even get into my cut. Yeah. But we tested a lot of that to where we had to do complete engine cuts, 3 holes, 4 holes, 5 holes, just to see how much to simulate a clutch depression to get it into the next gear. We'll do that again on this car. Really, the only differences on my red car to this one is weight. I have a bigger can. The motor, I'll have probably this year, I'll have about 1,000 more horsepower than I had on my red car.
just 1,000.
Yeah, the turbo is a Jose 114, 116. It made 3,200 to the wheel on a dyno on an automatic car. So it was a glide car. So
wow.
The turbo's there. When it comes to spooling, we'll see if we're running some issues. I don't think we will, but we might. So turbo, it's a single set of twins. The can's bigger. Transmission's the same. Motor's a billet motor. The intake, the injectors.
How big's the motor?
It's stock bore 302.
So okay, 5-liter 302.
Yeah,
nice.
363 or 364, I think, is the bore size, which is stock. Rear end, of course, is the same thing. I had my other one, just a nice, beautiful Fab 9 rear end. Chassis it'll be a lot better on this car when it comes to front to back. It should take the beating and make it to where the adjustments actually we can do minute adjustments on this one and it'll make a big difference. Where my 4-link bars are a lot longer on this car. It being completely sealed on the bottom, and hopefully it separates 6 to 8 inches going down the track. It should go pretty quick. Just hopefully our issues and new build blues aren't as crazy as it could be.
Well, one thing that really impressed me was how fast Bobby, as you called him, how fast his car went, even when it debuted. That was fast. Like he was 730s or something, wasn't he? Like first time out, I was like blown away how he could tell. I could tell he was working with some good people when he went out the first time and he was running 730s or something. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that car should have been faster than my red car. We had no idea the crank was doing what it was doing, and if it would have had a good crank and whatever was causing it to do that, he easily would have went 660, 670s this last year. The car it was the same weight as mine. It had better heads on it better than my red car. We had the knowledge, and I was really confident about the knowledge and the data. It was exactly the same setup I had in my red car. But we chased our ass all year with that crank issue, and it was just one of those things. But
yeah.
And what kind of bell housing is it? Is it a brow or what are you running?
Yeah, I actually have another brow I'm about to send off.
Show and tell. I love it.
I have a can that's in the car, and then I got this new one because at the time, so John Mahovitz actually helped me out because when I first was doing this, getting the can, you couldn't get any blanks. So of course John's probably got 10 of them in his damn bedroom, but he gave me one of his. I sent it to Bradley, put a new face, and then I bought this one off somebody that was selling a new one. I still have to go get it sent off to get the T56 part, but I'm gonna run this one whenever the car comes out.
And you don't have to lie on your back to do it. You'll be able to do it from inside the car. That'll be kind of nice.
Yep, and I'll have those fancy little starting buttons where you can roll it over, so nobody else to help you out. You can bump it over.
I know
I've
somebody
never,
like that.
Yeah, I have one of those under. I have one of those under my car.
yeah,
Just a
I've
little.
never had that before. I always had somebody else do it, or somebody hit the button in the car, and the car not being neutral about kill everybody under it. Yeah, we've done it.
I've said it a few times on this podcast that that was my routine. Is I would jack it up, put it on jack stands. I would check, make sure it was in neutral as I was jacking the car up, and then before I went under the car, I always hit the bump button under the hood before I went and hit the bump button underneath, because it would really suck running yourself over.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened to the car. Fell on one of Joel Gronis's dudes. I mean, you get in situations and get busy or tired because, I mean, like in Joel's case, he redid the motor a couple of times, I think, that year or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to make these dummy proof, because when it's in the shop, you can think I still make mistakes in the shop, but you're not thinking about that shit at the track. The only thing at the track is how the hell are we going to get this back up, and we'll do whatever it takes. But you got to make them dummy proof, because some of those can be life changing experience, like mistakes. So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So Joel, you said your line lock and your two-step will be activated with your clutch switch. Is that what you're planning?
All right, no.
Or
So this car will have a lower and upper clutch switch.
Right.
But I have on the rear end of this car, I have two different calipers. So I put in a handbrake.
Oh, okay.
On this car, and also it can utilize it as emergency brake in case something happens. But because they're full size calipers on the back, both of them, front and back.
Good idea. Yeah.
We had to make that for future reference, and we're probably going to end up selling that under Stick Shift the World. The bracket for the strange brakes, you can't. They make a dual bracket low pro, but it's for 2012 and older setups. It doesn't make any sense to me. They don't make one actually for the new ones. So we had to make that bracket. Billy did it, and it actually took forever. The first one we made was wrong, so we had to do it again because we were using an older bracket, and we didn't know. So we're going to do a handbrake. We'll have a lower clutch switch, upper clutch switch. But that's how I'm going to do it. Jonathan has a really good way he does it to where the line lock is always on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you to press the brake in the staging part. And it works pretty good, and it would have worked on Bobby's, but the crank was moving so much that the bearing wasn't doing what it was supposed to, and that's why we kept rolling through. But I handbrake, launching, that's it.
Yeah, I have mine. I just have a button on my steering wheel for my line lock.
Yeah.
I keep meaning to I have a sensor so I could for brake pressure, so I could set it at like 300 or something if I wanted to. So I knew that it was the same, and you're not like burning your clutch trying to bump into the next. I haven't done that yet, but so handbrake. So just like Garrett used to do.
Yeah, it's so Billy Webb is one of the first small block Chevys in the sixes way back in the day, and all he ran was manual stuff. And I like the concept of you're never going to be in a perfect scenario to where your setup is going to work every time. With a handbrake, your scenario is how hard or how less you pull on that brake. So let's say you make a mistake when you first even get to the pre-stage bulb, and then get into the second when you make whatever mistake. You can modify all of that through that, and that's we ran into some problems with Bobby's, and I know it wasn't Jonathan's fault or the concept, but I don't ever want a computer or something, or just because I made a foot mistake, to make it either roll through, come off, or stay on. And you're relying on a lot of sensors. And when it comes to that, I want it to where I know for a fact that I'm going to cut this light with this setup. And I did a lot of guessing on my last one, and I'm going to try to keep that to a minimum on this car.
Yeah, that's a great
Smart.
That's a great strategy. Yeah, because you can't take your foot, you can't readjust the brake if you're using a button, but you can do it with a hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Good point.
What else do we got? See, we talked about the clutch.
Let's talk about tires. What are you running for tires?
I've always ran the Pros, 275. This car was built for anything. So I could put a big tire on it. John Mahovitz wants me to. I told him no. I said, I'm trying to do this on a small tire. But I can put whatever tire on it, but I'll run a 275 or a 315 Mickey Thompson Pro, which I do like the DR2s. I actually was one of the first racers to run a DR2. It was they debuted them at Beach Bend. They had 3 sets, and I got one of them when they first came out with that tire. And it was awesome. I mean, I wasn't at the level that I was at now, but that tire back then was good. And then also Jonathan ran them for a couple weekends and a couple races. They're actually a really good tire. So who knows? I might switch over to it, but whatever makes sense. But as of right now, just Mickey Thompson's.
Nice.
The wheels on this car are welds. I had RCs on the last one. RCs from Bowling Green. So that's a good. I got RCs on the blue car over there, and who knows? This car will probably end up with RCs on it too. These are the wheels that came on it. And at the time when I got this car, actually RC they didn't offer much for a floater. This has got a floater rear end on it. So
is that a spindle mount front wheel, or does it have lugs?
Yeah, no, it's spindle.
Yeah, figured.
And you have an input shaft sensor?
Yes. This transmission, the bell housing has a thing that you could put a sensor in it, but no, Jonathan. Sorry, can't say Jonathan anymore. Tick has it where they weld the
the sensor right in the case. Yeah.
But they actually have. I've seen the new plate in person and everything when I was down there last week and seen the one that Jonathan ran. That's pretty cool. If I wasn't so deeply invested in what I have, that's a really cool setup. The mechanical part of it.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good idea. I'm actually mounting my trans pump. You know where the mid shifter plate is on the T56s?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I run T56 Magnum XL, so it's a really long one. But where the normal one is, there's a plate there. I'm actually going to mount my pump right there. And so I can just take it out with the transmission instead of having to juggle it around when you're taking the trans out.
Yeah. I've got mounted. Well, Bill does too. Both of us have ours mounted to the side of the trans now. So if you pull a trans, you pull it. So you don't have to mess with fluid or anything.
Yeah.
Do y'all use that bracket that guy? Who made that bracket that puts the pump on the side?
A2D is who I got mine from.
Yeah. I can't do that on mine because the T56 Magnum, the XLs, like cut one of those ears off. So I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the A2D one I like a lot. It's very well thought out, super clean, fits right in there, and then he gives you all the fittings. Well, there's no giving. He gives you the part numbers for all the fittings that you need. It's pretty nice. Like, I'm really pleased with it because I used to have it mounted under the floor of the car, and every time I took the trans off, I had to crack those lines, and I was always spilling fluid. And now it'll be super easy.
Well, no matter what, use the quick release, the quick connects, you not seen those?
Yeah,
I
know
have.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, I run that on my clutch line because I have a hydraulic clutch.
Yeah, well, run it on your pump too, just in case you got to disconnect, so you don't lose all the fluid in the trans.
Good idea. Good idea. There's a golden nugget right there, Rich.
Yep.
Yeah, they're starting to make those in every size, which is awesome. So you can take apart a car pretty quick and not have a mess.
Are you using the Jiffy Tights on those, or which which maker are you using for those quick releases?
Red Horse makes one. That's what we used on Bobby's. They're really nice. Just 6 AN Red Horse.
Nice. Okay.
So what shifter are you using?
Oh, MGW. I always George has done a lot for me. Back when first time I met him in person, I drove it my 2010 Shelby to his shop. And back when he used to have that yellow Boss Laguna Seca, and he had a personal shop that's right next to MGW. He said, "Pull it in there. We'll put it on real quick, and you can head on your way." So I drove from Camp Lejeune down to where he was at. We did it. Met him in person, showed me around, and then drove back. And ever since then, I mean, he's been way out of his way, more than he should. And he when I broke the record for the first domestic, he sent me a gift, and he's awesome. I actually need to send my shifter. I always send my shifter once a year to him and say, "Hey, just make sure I still got the same one I always had." So when it was stock, same shifter, it's over on the shelf. So I just send it to him, and he barely does anything to it. Sends it back, makes it look pretty again. And
nice.
So who is that, Joel? I'm not familiar.
George owns MGW.
MGW.
Yeah, I've heard of those shifters. I've not run one myself, but yeah.
Does it have stops?
Yes. So you can it's got, I don't know what thread it is, but it's got stops on the front and back. Actually, so I don't remember on it. I never actually used them, but it does have them. I actually don't have my wallet. He makes billet wallets too. Little bit of backstory about MGW. It was his dad's company, and he made the ACOGs for the military. He had a DoD contract and made the bodies of the ACOGs for the scopes. And when George took it over, he couldn't stand, which they suck. Military contracts are horrible. It's a 3-year rotation if you're lucky, and there's all kinds of penalties if you don't be very nice to them in the way that they like. So he kind of moved it more towards the car side. And now he's making these billet wallets and pen holders, and they're way over built, but they're awesome. I mean, so George is a good guy, and he does a lot for the racing world.
Nice. So I am curious on like when you make a pass, what are your go-to data points you look at? Like, do you have metrics you prioritize, like G meter, clutch slip? Like, what kinds of things are you looking at?
So when I get back from a pass, car goes up in the air, just in case we got to switch something. Usually, how you feel the pass goes. Car goes in the air, fans are going to cool off a clutch can. Pull data, so the laptop gets hooked to it. That's the first thing, even before it goes up. Pull the data. The first thing we look at is clutch. So is the RPMs matching the input speed? And then if we find an issue, that's when you start going into G meter and going into that type of stuff. But that's on the clutch side. And then on the engine side, of course, oil pressure. And then when I ran my car, it was crankcase. I mean, we looked at and of course, you got to do the conversion because it shows like 3 is actually 13 pounds of crankcase pressure or whatever. And
it was in KPA or something.
Yeah. So that was a big thing for us. This year, it'll be other things because one, we won't have a lot of those issues, but the standard. So we've had it in the Holly. We had it broken down into the different maps, and then of course the engine, clutch, and then suspension. So once you figure out the engine's good, clutch is good, what you're going to do, or you're me and Jonathan, and I'm running back and forth to his trailer like, "Hey, what about this? What about this? What do you think about this?" And I said, "Why don't we look at the shock sensors and see what it actually was doing at that point?" Because a lot of times, I mean, like on a separated car, if you're speeding up the separation too fast and it tops out the shock, then that's when the tires spun. Maybe it wasn't. We didn't have enough power in there, or it shook the tires and we had to put more power in it at that level. It's just, those are just the three main ones, but of course it changes every time. So I always run into some type of weird scenario or issue that we have to fix. So
Yeah.
And how in the red car, how long would it slip in first gear before it would lock up?
not long at all. That car didn't slip much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had 3 or 4 tenths just in clutch tuning, because if you listen to the videos and don't watch them, that's something Billy, and of course we all have done it, but Billy actually really said, don't watch this video, listen to it. And when it launches, you can just hear it pulling the life out of the motor until it gets up into the half a third and fourth. Then you can really start to hear it singing. But we had so much more room for growth in that car. And we didn't slip as much as we should. If we did, it was a mistake majority of the time. So
yeah. Well, yeah, having the big can in there and having to be able to reset it, and then at least that's a variable that you know isn't changing, then you can make changes, right? So
yeah.
When I went to sick week, I think I was slipping like 1.3 seconds before it would lock up, and then it would stay locked up. And I've seen a few pictures of my car, and it's like, why is the exhaust so? No, that's not exhaust. I think that's all clutch dust.
It's all clutch dust.
But my car is like 4,100 pounds and makes 1,500 horse. Totally different, combination than you're running. But it runs high eights. But it's almost what needs to happen to get that thing moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm similar weight, similar. We've been almost identical times, and same thing. I'm slipping that clutch about the same time. I actually kind of base it off of Rich for comparison. I don't have a slipper clutch. I run a diaphragm clutch, but I have a digital clutch controller on it, so I can control it, with an app on the phone and make those settings. But similar outputs is what we're after. So
that's how fast are those cars?
Mine's been 875 and 164.
Yeah, an 870 at basically same 165.
Dang, that's crazy. That's heavy.
Yeah. The 4,100 pounds is not a logical way to do this, but but I drive it everywhere too. Like I drove it to Florida and back, and I averaged 885, a little over 160 miles an hour.
Yeah, and he drove from Canada. It was what, 3,500 miles one way, Rich?
Yeah. Well, it was a little less than that because I did the event too, and it was about 800 miles. But it's a little over 3,000 miles down through a winter snowstorm. That's why I was giggling.
I was about to say, didn't you hit snow?
Oh yeah, this year was a bitch on the way down and on the way back. The weather was not kind, but it was great in Florida when I got there. But and actually, the first time Bill and I met, we was a Drag Week 2013, and that in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yep.
And it was LS Fest was there. They were just finishing up when we showed up. So that was the first time I had seen any of LS Fest. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and what a beautiful track. I mean, that's just an incredible facility.
It was. Yeah, you think you're going to a golf course or something, driving through the rolling hills, and that's nice. An amazing track.
Yep, it's
definitely.
It's beautiful. Dallas did awesome on that track. He just recently passed away, and then Brock's kind of taking the reins, Brock's been kind of doing everything there anyways, but place is awesome. It was beautiful.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know when Stick Shift the World is going to have your first race, your stick shift race. Maybe I'll drive the goat down there and come and play stick cars with some other slower stick cars. Not
yeah, it's same here.
Well, we're gonna actually. So yeah, that's one thing, and then we got some. There's a TV show that's going to be covering. We got May 9th is actually the first taping, but we have a TV show that's Bobby is going to be the race master on it. and I'm going to be in it a little bit, but we got some stuff in the future that's going to put a lot of light onto stick shift racing. So it should be pretty cool. It won't be just on certain people. Everybody that's in it will be part of it, and it'll be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So here we have a couple of questions here. So that kind of fits right into this one. Why do you think that stick shift racing has grown in popularity in the last few years? Just because it's so awesome.
Well,
I think that's part of it.
Well, it's
the man with the beard.
Well, yeah. No, it's not. I think it's because you never know who's going to win. I mean, it's a difference between going into NHRA or going to a lot of these lights out and different like races like that. You always got those 5 people that are usually the ones that are winning. A stick shift racing, you never know who's going to win. I'll go out there and get beat by a fucking 500 horsepower Evo. I guarantee it one day. But it's not that. I mean, it's anywhere from what the cars are doing when you get on the 2-step to how fast they're going down the track. Who would have thought that these cars would be going 661 or 662, whatever Jonathan went? I mean,
yeah,
nobody would have thought that. And then they're still going faster. There's a group of people that are building cars to go faster and want to be that top dog out there that has a target on their back. And it's just a lot of fun. I mean, if you can take pro racing and put your buddy in high school that you used to mess around with cars into a scenario where they race competitively, that's what I kind of think that stick shift racing is. I mean, we don't hide behind secrets and don't talk to each other. Majority of the guys are doing the same shit. I mean, there's not many different ways you can actually do this.
Yeah.
And it's just a good group of guys, and it's a good showing every time it goes out. And, I mean, who doesn't want to watch it? I mean, it's an awesome thing to watch.
Yeah, it is like World Cup. Every one of them, it's like you just don't know who's going to win.
Mm-mm.
Like, never. Yeah, Nick is come so close sometimes and won sometimes, and Grannis same thing, and yeah, it's pretty cool just to watch. I mean, what was the last one where Jonathan his clutch started slipping like in 3rd gear or something, and he lost?
Yeah, he put like 3 or 4 buses on Grannis, and then all of a sudden had nothing at the 8th, and then Grannis.
Yeah.
You could just hear him screaming in the car. No.
Yeah. And he
didn't lift.
Yeah, he
just blew through the clutch.
Yeah, it probably sounded real good in the car, but it wouldn't go very fast. But it's frustrating, and for him. I think it's real frustrating because there's nobody out there more data than he has on a car, and he's pushing those things. I mean, that probably was a 660 run, easy. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, what he run like a 720 at 140 something or whatever.
Yeah, some ridiculously slow mile an hour.
Yeah, but he's finding some issues because of how much that we're trying to push it, and I think that we're all going to experience that. It's just he's the first one that's kind of getting to that point.
Yeah, it was. It's cool to see this. The cars that are even doing drag and drive, like Jeremy Howell. I think he's been 720s.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you heard his car on the dyno. Taylor Edrick, same thing. I mean, he had been 820s, had some issues with water, and then Chad went out and went 757 on day 1, and then day 2 rattled the tires and blew a hole in the side of his transmission about that big, and that kind of ended his.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Man.
Now the Freedom Factory was really close, and Garrett did have a couple of transes there, but he was kind of on holidays with his wife, so he didn't really think he wanted to wrench that hard. So he was just enjoying Florida.
Yeah,
but we've kept you for 2 hours now, so I think we better roll into the. I'm sure maybe you never have you ever owned a TKO?
No.
That was wise choice.
Well, it is a 5-speed transmission.
Yeah.
So For first gear, what is the first car you've owned or modified?
Was a 95 S10,
Perfect.
and it was a manual.
Nice.
Nice. Did you race it?
Hell no. I was in high. It was just a show car kind of deal, low ride S10. I think whatever was popular with a system in it back in the day.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. We're going to slam her down into second gear. What, in your opinion, has been the biggest technology change to move our sport forward?
One single thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Computer systems that have a never ending, or actually, what's this? Computer systems that can monitor anything. So not only is it sensors, but the computer systems that there's a never ending of inputs and outputs. And then if there is, they got a box so you can add 10 more or 15 more.
Yeah.
It there's only so much that you can trial and error before you either go broke or just want to quit. And then when you have a computer system that can tell you something's going to happen before it happens, not only is that a good investment, but it makes you feel comfortable at night that you are not, you don't go to the race like, God dang, how much is it going to cost when I get done with this race because I broke this. And there's a lot of things that happen that you can see now with a computer that, hey, you might want to check this, or like EGTs and like different things like that. Like, hey, we didn't plug this up right, or hey, idiot, you switched the wire. Like just different things like that. I would definitely say the ECUs are allowing us to see stuff that people 20 years ago were like, why do we keep breaking this shit?
Yeah.
And it's funny how you can make a pass in the car and you get to the end of the track and it's like a memory erase. It's like, I don't know what the hell just happened there. Something happened in second gear. I can't really remember. And
speaking of that, Matt Lunsford was the first person that did. He's an engineer at Holly, and he was my tuner originally. And me and him would get into so much about you lift it, because that was the hardest thing for me is to not lift. And
we talked about this. We talked about this.
and not and whenever we did with no clutch, and that was just so. It's not like an automatic. It's not like a street driven stick shift, and and then like I was still going through like milestones of, oh, you hit 2.5 G's, you hit 3 G's. Well, sometimes I just fucking forgot the shift, or I just lifted my freaking right foot because I was in so much shock. And he'd be like, you lifted? I was like, no, I didn't. There's no way I did. He's like, well, look at this. And I had sensors that I didn't use it, but I had the G or what's it called, the shift thing?
Strain gauge.
I had a strain gauge on that car, but it would just tell me what I was doing wrong. It would tell me how much pressure and different things. I didn't use it to shift.
Yeah.
He'd come back like, you did this, you did that. I was like, no, I didn't. Like, yeah, you did. And we go back. And finally he would I might need to plug up my computer. How much more time we got?
We'll go quick here. So third gear, if you could spend one day with someone live or dead, who would it be and what would you do?
I'd have to say it would be with Don Walsh Sr. and also his son. So Don Walsh Jr. I would like to see when Tremec used to be in Detroit. I mean, like, I would like to see the parts houses and how it all started, how people were modifying them. And I think it'd just be a standard day at work with them. And then also I'd like to go race a pro mod with Don Walsh Jr. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Nice.
Awesome.
I have a lot of respect for Don Walsh Jr. or Senior. He helped me out a lot. And always, every time I see Junior, I ask him about his dad and everything else. And
so I think.
Okay, so you answered third gear, so we'll pull her down into fourth. I don't think not very many people screw up fourth gear, except for we all probably have once. What influences you to build your cars?
I would say it's more of a personal drive. It was kind of the same reason that what I did in I go back to when I played baseball. My goal was to be the best I could be at baseball. I did the whole college thing. Didn't work out for other reasons, but I went in the Marine Corps. I went in as an infantry guy. Did that. It was just a normal machine gunner in the Marine Corps. Then I became a sniper in the Marine Corps. And then stuff started changing in the military, and I still wanted to keep like going up in tiers. So I ended up going to special operations and doing some stuff over there for a little bit. And then I got out and got into drag racing more competitively. And I'm the type of person that if you are doing the same thing for over a certain amount of time, then you're not progressing in anything. You're going backwards. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to make sure that I do it the best that I can, and maybe invent some stuff, different ways of doing it. And that's just my personality. You know, I'm not. I'm just not a standstill kind of person. I'm a squirrel-brained ADHD, which I know I've never been a doctor that said I have ADHD or anything like that, but I don't do well stagnant, and that's just how I am. So when it comes to this, I'm going to keep going forward until I can't go forward anymore. Hopefully, it's not a doctor telling me that. It's just how I am.
Nice. All right, I'm going to put it into the first overdrive, fifth gear. What, in your opinion, is the secret to stick shift racing?
Don't fucking quit.
Persistence. I like it.
Yeah,
All
don't quit. And the other part is listen to somebody that's going faster than you.
Maybe that's why Jonathan's moving to an automatic, because right now Joel Steele hasn't kicked his ass yet. So, but soon.
Yeah, no, he's doing it for a good reason. I agree with him. I really did. It hurts me, but I agree with him.
Okay, well, you probably don't have sixth gear in your transmission, or fifth. Do you have fifth or sixth? Probably not so much anymore.
Saving 23 pounds.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to somebody getting into the sport?
Pick a level you know you're going to stop at and build your car or one level over that, and it'll save you a lot of headaches. Meaning, if you want to go eights, build that car for going sevens and live in the eights. But know what you're doing before you get into it, because I was that guy. But if you're that guy that's just, God, I want to go that fast, and you ain't got a clue about how much it costs, the time, the 17 times taking the transmission out at the same race, you're in for a world of hurt. And you better have some really good support buddies that are actually your crew that don't fucking quit either, because you can't do it by yourself. I mean, that's Jeremy and Bobby and everybody else that comes to the race and helps us out, or vice versa. We help each other out. I mean, it's just don't quit and just pick a goal. Pick a goal.
I like that. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Okay. A couple audience questions. Then a lot of traditional stick shift fans say that it's only truly stick shift if you press or kick the clutch between shifts. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm biased because I don't use it.
Neither do we.
Neither do we.
but here's okay. So this goes into the bullshit goes on Facebook and people that run their fucking mouth on there. If that person wants to pay for my fucking transmissions and my clutch for me to press it on my left foot, I will figure out a way to go as fast as I'm going pressing on my left foot. But until that dumbass and keyboard warrior wants to run his fucking mouth on Facebook or whatever, pays my bills, then shut the fuck up and drive your 10-second car. And that's how I feel about it. I mean,
nice.
It's stupid. I mean, it's still a stick shift. You're going in an H pattern. Just because we're smarter and figure it out, or Jonathan, I'm going to say we, he tells my car what to do, and I'm the monkey fucking driving it.
Yep.
That's just how I feel about it. I mean, it's common sense. Ain't nobody going to be able to do that or want to.
Yep.
And I think all of us have progressed too. Like we've all been through the using the clutch and trying to figure out how to shift without it. And it was a journey to get to where we're at now. I mean, and your journey's way ahead of ours, but yeah, I used to use the clutch all the time. Don't use it anymore, but
yeah. And here's another thing. I mean, I guarantee it, that person that typed that on Facebook or is one running their mouth about it, I bet they're watching Speed Channel or Speed Video or whatever it is and watching us race.
Yeah.
They don't, as soon as the stick shift comes on, they don't click, oh, he doesn't use a clutch. I bet they don't shut that off. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's whatever. Sure.
Rich, take the next one.
I don't know that I have them on here. I might have to refresh.
Oh, well, I see it
the next
here.
one.
So
yeah, mine's blank. I have to.
Okay, so Jonathan Atkins is building a new car as well, as we've talked about already. What do you think his ET goal is for his turbo 400 with the purse in the back seat?
Oh, so you're talking about when he's switching his road worm?
Yep.
Honestly,
sorry.
I think his goal more than anything is going to be the fastest to beat the LS record with a small block Chevy or LT.
LT. Okay.
I don't think he's got a time goal. I mean, I know Jonathan more than likely. It truly I know a lot of people don't trust about stuff they see on the internet, but there's a lot more races that he can race with an automatic. That's proven. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of racing going on in North Carolina. North Carolina has probably the most racing when it comes to no prep, just weekend stuff, and it ain't small money either. I mean, it's not your test and tune money. So I don't think he's got a time goal. Maybe once he gets into it and see where he wants to be, maybe he might set a time goal, but I don't think he'll have one, to be honest with you. He just wants to win.
And he's also building a new stick shift car. Are you aware of that one?
Yes.
What do you think the goals are for that one?
To safely have a chassis that go as fast as he's going right now.
Okay.
I know that because I mean, I've literally laid under his car and looked at him. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this car is stock shit. This was before he did it. He redid it this off season, and then now it's a lot better. But two off seasons ago, he redid it, and the chassis was a lot better. But I've been under it, and it's he's going real fast for what it is. And there's nobody that can talk shit on him that he did it with a chassis car, because I know I'm going to get that. Whatever. I mean,
so, are you going to be faster than his new car?
I hope so. I hope so. There's going to be the power levels are going to be the same. The only difference I think on this car is he doesn't have 600 runs on it. So I'm going to actually have a one-up on him, even though he's the one tuning my car, and he'll always know what's going on in my car. But he doesn't have a car with 600 runs that he knows if he farts it in second gear what it's going to do. I mean, nobody can outrun his knowledge when it comes to experience and whatever in his car. So hopefully that will keep me on a level playing field with him.
So there's a little competition, a little shit talking between the two of you.
No, we never have. We actually never have. I mean, I've smart-assly, like if we're in the finals or Bobby always draws him at whatever race.
Okay.
There's that. Hey, make sure you don't fuck up on the keyboard, please, because we'd like to get a chance to beat you. But no, we've never. Oh, yes, he talks about coyotes all the time. So I don't have his shirt on, but I actually wear his shirt where he has a little disclaimer at the bottom of it. Any coyotes hurt in this, or LS Motors hurt trying to break the record or whatever.
Yep.
I wear that shirt, bro.
All right. And when are you building a drag and drive car?
Yeah, when are you going to come race with us?
That is not on the near future plans, but I actually have thought about it. I was like, that'd be really cool to do.
Yeah, especially with your boys. It'd be good to be able to take one of your boys or a couple of your boys with you on an event like that, it's a lot of fun.
I'd have to build a car where all three of the boys could go.
Oh yeah, well, all right.
You could do it.
They get, I mean, before like in some of those TRC videos and 1320, you'd see my boys, but it would only be like the two oldest. And now they're starting to get really pissed at me if I only take one or two. So in my youngest one, he's the smallest, but he's the meanest. So I gotta make sure I bring him.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice. All right. Should we wrap this up?
Yeah. Why don't we what you want to talk about your sponsors or anything before we wrap it up, Joel? Or who supports you? And you've talked a bit about them, but
we're on board with of course Tick's always, even though Jonathan's not there, the same people work there, and if you ever get the chance and they allow you to go there and just walk through and see what they do, it is probably the most beautiful area and shop. Go to Tick, learn what they do, learn how they're trying to change some things. We talked about some stuff we might work on in the near future together. Turbo Smart, they have a lot of companies under an umbrella. They do the sister company Speed Flow, which is the fuel fittings, which Speed Flow is another one. Renegade Race Fuels, they're actually here in Bowling Green. They've helped us out a lot. Jose, I don't know how I got hooked up with him. He actually texted me and never gave my phone number. I don't even know how the hell he got my phone number. He texted me and said, "Hey, I want to put a turbo on your car." And I called. Of course, I get a random text like that. I was like, "Who is this?" He was like, "Oh, it's Jose at Force and Dogs." I was like, "Oh yeah, you can put a turbo on my car anytime you want to." He's been awesome. I've done a lot of his first off stuff, and they've worked out. We haven't really had any hiccups. He's been awesome. Haltech, we actually haven't officially ran Haltech in the race cars yet. I'm looking forward to it. I've done a lot of backseat stuff with other people with Haltech, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. They've been really good. Impact on safety. Ran Impact Racing for the last 3 years. If you're a stick shift racer, buy their 20 gloves. If you've never put those on your hands, buy their 20. They're for the 20 suits, but they're the thinnest glove that you'll ever put on your hands, and they're awesome. So if you have to wear gloves, buy their gloves. They're amazing.
We should buy some and send some to Nick.
Yes, please.
Plaza Man, we've ran their intakes on the car and everything. You can't beat their intakes. They're proven. Never had an issue with them. MGW, we talked about George for a while in this interview. Good guy. There's actually a human being behind the company, and he'll stand behind his products. He's a very good gentleman. Mike Thomas Fab. I don't know if y'all know who he is. He's a younger guy. He owns Mike Thomas Fab. He's from Delaware. He did my turbo kit on this car. He's probably one of the youngest, most talented person I've ever met, and he's got a good work ethic. And
nice.
Of course, Billy Webb. Billy, he's not a
Chris Alston.
Just any of the big ones. Yeah. He's not that when it comes to size, but his engineering and how he builds cars and what he makes them do and the knowledge to get them to go down the track is unreal. So to thank him for that. And I think that's it. I don't know if I'm missing any.
But one more question. When are we going to see the car out?
I don't know. I would say in the next 2 months. I always seem to bring cars out on my birthday, which is August 7th. There's a street car takeover here in Bowling Green. I want it out before then. This car's going to be a little different when it comes to bringing it out. I'm probably not going to show anybody really what's going on with it until it runs a 4.0 in the 8th. Which I don't want to. I don't want to rush this car coming out. I want to make sure that we have our ducks in a row, just because of how fast this car is going to be. I just don't want to make any mistakes and get hurt.
That's smart.
Total a car in the first couple times of it coming out.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's smart. All right. Well, let's put a huge thanks out to Stick Shift Nation for hosting this podcast. And of course, you can find this podcast on YouTube if you want to look at our beautiful faces, or any other platform that you listen to podcasts on. We're there. And of course, go to Stick Shift Nation, grab a shirt, hat, or sticker, and you can also get your Clutch Burners shirts there as well. And that's stickracing.com. That's it. Thanks a lot. We appreciate
Thanks again for your time.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right. And
That's awesome.
we'll close it down. Over and out.